As consumers, we are bombarded by it at every turn, like the Incredible Hulk being bombarded by gamma rays. But what makes some media endure, while others are banished to the forgotten black hole of obscurity, never to be heard from again? Who or what decides this? Hetero life mates Steve and Yahel want to know, and they want to know now. This is Obscurity Now. And what's up, Obscurians? Welcome to another episode of Obscurity Now, the show where we take a look at weird and almost forgotten pieces of media. We decide if they should be remembered for all of human history or tossed in the black void of obscurity, never to be heard from again. My name is Steve. I'm one of the hosts, and with me, he's a man who tried out for lead guitar for the Coming Out of Their Shells tour, but was denied because it turns out they don't really have a lead guitar. It's
Yahel. How are you doing, Steve?
I'm doing great, man. Happy and appreciative of you and your time to be a part of this podcast.
It is, I regret that as we were talking about before we started recording, I have been extremely busy this week. I think I'm going to end up putting in like 60 hours. And I wish I was exaggerating. And somehow I still made an effort to fit in Coming Out of Their Shells. I usually watch our stuff like on the weekends, but
right.
And boy, do I regret spoiler, using an hour and a half of my free time this week, my precious little free time this week. But it was certainly a watch.
I bet you were wishing that we read that TMNT Archie comic instead. When you were like,
God. I don't think I'm ever going to decline a comic, ever reading a comic book ever again.
Nor should you, ladies and gentlemen. But hey, you know what they say? You got to fight to be free. Am I right?
Oh yeah, you want to make that a song where it's both the verse, the chorus, and you don't change the melody for either.
Yes, the songwriting is for. All right, let's just be clear here. We are reviewing and or discussing, however you want to call it, we're discussing the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Coming Out of Their Shells tour. We're watching it because, of course, there's yet another TMNT movie that is about to open soon. I think it's, by the time this comes out, it will already be out. Hopefully that movie is better than what we're about to talk about. Spoiler alert. But without further ado, should we just jump into it?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, it's pizza time.
Welcome to your feature presentation.
All right, so let's get right into it. Have you ever seen the Coming Out of Their Shells tour, listened to the music? Do you have any history at all with it?
I mean, if I had seen it before, I definitely wouldn't have said, "Hey, why don't we do this?" But I think I don't remember which one of us put it on the list initially, but I mean, I knew of its existence. I may have even watched, because I've definitely seen clips, but I never heard any of it. So maybe I watched like a YouTube video covering it, and for copyright reasons, they didn't want to. Although I doubt anyone would bother claiming copyright on this.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I wasn't familiar enough with it to say, Steve, this is a bad idea. What about you?
Well, I mean, as we were talking about before we hit the record button, I know a young man by the name of Matt suggested that we cover this. I don't know if he still listens, but hopefully he'll listen to this episode because I think that's how it ended up on our list. I think I remember when this was going on, but I never heard any of their songs aside from the Pizza Power one that was played in the Turtles in Time, arcade game, which I think everyone knows. All the other songs I've never heard of. I've just seen like random clips and stills, as you said, on the internet. So yeah, pretty unfamiliar with it. I guess it didn't come through to wherever I was living at the time. And even if it did, I'm sure my parents wouldn't shell out the cash so we could go. But I'm curious, have you ever met a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle in real life? And I mean, obviously, we know they're not real, even though, did you happen to get a chance to watch any of the making of the Coming Out of Their Shells documentary?
Steve, I barely, and I do mean barely, got through this.
It's okay. It's okay. Don't get hot.
Ever since I finished, I watched like half of it yesterday and the other half today. I've been about 10 minutes into it. I was like, is this worse than Surf Nazis Must Die? Do I hate
Oh,
this
you
more?
bastard. Why do you have to bring them up? Leave the surf
Well,
Nazis alone.
I haven't quite decided yet, Steve, but I might hate this more than Surf Nazis Must Die. So you
Right.
should be happy, if anything,
I guess I'm more
right?
confused than anything. But anyway, in this documentary, I mean, I know you're probably never going to check it out at this point since once we're done with this, we're never going to mention this again. But it's really funny because you got all these like boring like directors, like behind the scenes people, like the actual people that worked on it, and they're sitting there. It's like a VH1 behind the music, obviously before that came out, and they're pretending that the turtles are real, and they're talking about them in the most boring way possible. And I'm just like, who is this for? Like, kids are gonna find this incredibly boring, and like adults are gonna be like, what the hell are you doing? Like the, the turtles are fake, man. Like it's so
Uh,
confusing. But
in a way, I'm not surprised that because these motherfuckers that worked on this. I mean, because I was wondering who is this for while I was watching it,
mhm,
because
mhm.
they meant for it to be for kids, but it's like the people that wrote this had never been around a child or
Oh,
something.
sure. And if you watch the behind the scenes stuff, you can tell they definitely none of those people have kids. They have
Like the
drug
music
problems.
is not like none of these songs like are songs that I think kids would find
Nope,
interesting or
nope.
fun.
Except
And
except maybe the rap, maybe the rapping, but everything else is
maybe a
pretty
little
whack.
bit, but it's that crappy late 80s rapping that every white guy that couldn't rap would do. It's like
Wow,
that syncopation.
that really hurts because I like that style of rap. But
So thank you, Steve, for proving my point.
wow, wow. All right,
But
well,
like I thought about the Simpsons music CD, like the one that had "Do the Bartman" on it,
hmm
uh, and like all those songs on there were like songs that you could see like kids getting into
I love to do the
and enjoying.
Bartman.
Yeah, like all the
hmm
songs on that CD are good, and I'm not like even the biggest like Simpsons fan, and I still
Right,
they're very memorable.
sure.
Like these songs, like
Oh, they're so
awful.
generic. They sound like well, I wrote out a little description for each one, but we'll talk about them as
Okay,
we get to them. I'm just we'll just jump into sort of the cold hard facts here. So, coming out of their shelves was a studio album first, and then a subsequent live musical tour that occurred from 1990 to 1991, and then it even toured overseas in 1992. The tour was endorsed and sponsored by Pizza Hut. The very first showing of the tour was broadcast live on pay per view, and a VHS recording of the broadcast was made and released, as well as a making of direct to home video. Now, before we get too deep in this, you can go and watch the Coming Out of Their Shelves tour right now on YouTube for free. There's two versions I saw. There's a VHS rip, and there's like a widescreen, I guess, DVD rip. Which one did you watch?
I watched the widescreen one,
Yeah, me too.
and it's just all it is like the 4:3 version stretched to 16:9. So I don't recommend watching it,
It
like
still
especially
looks
if you're an aspect ratio
right.
snob.
Well, I think regardless of the aspect ratio, it's still not very good.
Yeah, I don't recommend watching it. That should have been the end of that sentence. You're
Right.
right.
Anyway, the VHS premiered October 3rd, 1990. And my previous question to you was, have you ever met a Ninja Turtle in real life? And of course, by that I mean a costumed human being dressed up as a Ninja Turtle.
I can't say that I have, Steve, but you must have brought this up for a reason.
No, I mean no. I just I've met the turtles a few times. That's all.
A few times. A few times.
Right.
How many times are we talking
Really.
about?
Okay.
At least three.
I remember back in like the late '80s, early '90s. My uncle brought me to a car show, and there was one there, but you had to pay extra to like go up on stage and like hang out with them. So I guess that wasn't technically a meet and greet, but the
All right. So you were just in the vicinity
right, and
of a
also,
turtle.
hey, RoboCop was there too. I have it in my mind that he went straight from saving Sting in WCW to hanging out at that car show because this was the late 80s and it took place in South Carolina, so it's highly probable. Anyway,
Well, okay.
the other time I met the Turtles, all four of them, was I was working I think it was what's that big YouTube convention? VidCon, that's what it is. I was working there, and for some reason they had four turtles all dressed up, and of course I got a picture with them. It was like the new Nickelodeon version one, but still cool. This seems a lot lamer since you don't have a chance to share. You don't have a turtle story.
No. I'm fascinated by the fact that you have accidentally met at least on these first two occasions, just happened to have met the turtles. Please tell me about the third.
No, that's it. There is no third.
Oh, that's it.
That's it.
Oh, okay.
We're like this. I mean, one time at a con, I saw Kevin Eastman sitting at a table. He's one of the creators. In case.
Did you kiss him? Did you give him a little smooch?
No. I was just like, hey, there's the guy who I wish I was. Is what I.
Were
was
you like,
thinking.
hey, I've met them.
I was like, hey, buddy, pizza power. Yeah. No. Anyway.
As he lets out a heavy sigh and takes another shot from his flask.
He actually put a bullet into the chamber and spent the revolver. Yeah. Anyway, here's the.
I wish I would have done that.
Oh, this is the most depressing you'll ever see Yahel, I think. Even in our 2 years of podcasting. But anyway.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm more sad about, Steve. My job situation with how stressful it is, the planet being on fire, Mitch McConnell surviving, or me watching the turtles coming out of their shell store.
All right.
I don't know which has depressed me more.
Well,
it's been a week.
You think about it and let us know at the end of the episode. And then you, listener, you let us know in the comments which one you think is worse.
Yeah. How close to death did this drive you?
All right.
Should we go through
Hold up, we're almost there.
Producers and writers.
I'm going to do a synopsis for this complex plot. And here it is. With the help of the fans and April O'Neil, the Ninja Turtles have to stop Shredder and Baxter Stockman from destroying all of the music in the world. And this was directed by Lorenzo Jordan. He directed this and nothing else. And also added as a director was Thomas White, who was also a writer. He's known for this, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Getting Down in Your Town, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, The Making of the Coming Out of Their Shells Tour. So basically some horrible TMNT sort of side media and nothing else. And so one of the other writers, aside from Thomas White, is Bob Behan. And he actually did a few sort of interactive, like a DVD/video game movies that
the alleged first DVD.
Oh, you checked that?
Interactive video game.
That's up on YouTube. We should cover it. But yeah, it's called I'm Your Man is the first one, and then he did another one called Ride for Your Life.
Whoa. Did you see that Michael Ian Black was one of the writers for that?
I did. That's why I checked it out. Yeah. I added it. I need to add it to the list, but I added it to my watch later queue on YouTube. So we should definitely check it out. But anyway, why don't you tell us some of the thespians who are involved in this Shakespearean style opus?
Okay, well, I'm not going to go through everyone's IMDb because, frankly, most of these people don't have much of one to go through to begin with.
Yeah, they never worked again.
A few of them did, but most of them didn't. David Shatraw is his last name. Shatraw.
Man, that's like a terrible porn name. That's like the worst whatever. But
now I assume he tells people it's like Shatra.
Or,
maybe he adds a little zhuzh and Chatro, but it's Shatraw. And that's funny enough what this VHS is going to make you feel like you just did through your eyes and ears.
It's going to make you Shatraw, yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, somehow, despite his last name, he had a little bit of a career, 73 credits to his name. He was on what I assume is every episode of Titus. 54 episodes.
Interesting.
He was also, this is not a Star Trek connection, but I did notice he was on an episode of Leverage that Brent Spiner, aka Data, guest starred on.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I think he played his lawyer or something, Brent Spiner's lawyer. But anyways, he was Michelangelo. Then we've got Ron K. Smith. He played Raphael. He just did a couple other Turtles videos. He was in that We Wish You a Turtle Christmas video.
I noticed another one of those guys was in here too.
Cherie Renee Scott. She played the part of April O'Neil. She had a few other things. Nothing you're gonna have heard of. I did notice she was on something called SMILF, and I'm like,
What?
is this like MILF thing? And then it was like a Showtime show. It stands for Single Mom is Losing Faith.
Oh, that's a lot less fun than what I was thinking.
I know. It seemed like it was going to be cool, but
some
possibly,
mom I'd
or at
like
least
to,
pornographic.
Yeah, some mom I'd like to insert. Yeah.
Well, Rosie O'Donnell is in it as well, playing the part of Tutu. So maybe we get to see her.
Now that's depressing.
Show some skin.
That's depressing.
Then we've got Jack Scott. He plays Baxter Stockman. He also plays some foot soldiers. He was a nothing else other than being the understudy for Splinter for the same production. So I don't know if they were just going to cut out Baxter Stockman, because there was no need to have him other than I guess they just wanted to have him, and they I'm assuming what happened is they wanted like another villain from the Rogues Gallery besides Shredder, but they weren't going to shell out money for Bebop or Rocksteady costumes.
Right, and they probably wanted someone for the Shredder to play off of, even though he was like hardly even there most of the time.
Yeah, he just like yells like 3 times. That's pretty much it. Speaking of Shredder, unfortunately, we did not get Kevin Nash. We got Bo Allen, a Shredder. His first picture, when you look at his photos on IMDb, outside of his profile picture, is him shirtless on the beach.
Professional, very professional.
He looks like an old wooden barrel with arms hanging out the sides of it, and that is not a compliment. He's been in 10 things altogether, but 2 of them count as this tour, so I don't think that's exactly fair.
Right.
He's also in I'm Your Man, the DVD interactive movie. But it's weird because most recently he played Dr. Talcamont on Don't Look Up.
Huh. Yeah, well, look at that.
Yeah. See, you thought nobody worked anything else. Mark Aris played Splinter, and that was it. Because, once you've played the worst version of Splinter, there's nowhere else to go but down.
Yeah, you get that right.
There's a bunch of Foot Clanners that didn't do really much of anything else, so I'm not going to go into them because they don't play a major part here.
You have to mention Alfredo Miller, because he was in the previous Turtles video that we reviewed. Remember?
I don't even have him on my list.
What?
Oh, yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. Okay, yeah. He was a Foot Clanner, previous blah, blah, blah. Yeah, great.
I don't know. I just remember that name from... what is that? We Wish You a Turtle Christmas. So if you want more turtle content from us, you got to go back and check out that video. So is that pretty much everyone you wish to mention?
No, we just got 2 more people. Okay. We just got 2 more. Donatello was played by Eric Anzalone. He's got the lamest, cringiest, I'm trying to be tough guy profile picture. And then Cam Clark played Leonardo. He is, or actually the voice.
Yeah, I was about to say, there's
Leonardo.
no way they got Cam Clark to actually show up there physically.
Oh, you know who this is?
Oh, yeah, he's the original Leonardo voice. He's also the voice of Liquid Snake.
Yeah, he's done a bunch of stuff. He's got 435 credits to his name, a lot of anime, a lot of video games, 3 of which, Steve, you're not going to believe this, Star Trek video games. He was in Star Trek Starfleet Command 3, also Starfleet Command Volume 2, and Star Trek New Worlds, which I had never even heard of as a video game, not to be confused with Strange New Worlds, the current ongoing Star Trek show. Yeah, so that is the last member and the only Star Trek connection.
All right, so here it comes.
Oh no! We've just entered another Star Trek connection.
All right. Okay, so we will just move right into this thing. And I mean, if you've never seen it, it's exactly what you think it is. Just this, I don't know. Apparently, in the original like pay-per-view sort of broadcast, like they basically showed the whole thing in its entirety, and it starts out with like April doing a newscast to where everyone in the audience is a part of the newscast, and you can see like bits of that like as you move forward, like when the reporter shows up like halfway
Mm-hmm.
through. But anyway, I just at the very beginning of the video, there's some really over the top sort of like 90s editing when it says like turtles and it shows a bunch of weird black and white stuff and coming. Did you watch that? Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, that on my version did not have that.
Huh. Well, that's weird. But anyway, the very first song is a coming out of our shells, and I don't know. How would you describe that song?
Oh, whatever the opposite of memorable is, forgettable.
Generic. But yeah, I've got
Yeah.
70s dad rock with like a little bit of Bruce Springsteen. Like a lot of this sort of
Yeah.
used that kind of like raspy style of kind of singing.
Hmm.
And so like right off the bat, there's some weird things about the turtles and their costumes. Like, did you notice that at first I thought they were wearing like hoodies around their waists. Oh, is that the turtles? Is that your turtle comm? Is it going off?
Sorry, I put it on vibrate. Yeah, that's funny enough. I did reach out to our friend Matt, and he did suggest he was the one that suggested it.
See, I knew it. I
And
knew it.
then he had the gall to say the song "Pizza Power" is a banger.
Wow.
Matt, I'm gonna see him this Saturday,
Yeah.
and he's in danger.
Yeah, you make sure you show him that your fists are a banger. Ah, yeah, violence. Okay. So yeah. It looks like they have hoodies tied around their waists. Like, what do you think the reason
Yeah.
for that was?
I don't know. I maybe they were trying to cover up some kind of seam between, where the costume parts is what I'm thinking, or it was that's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah, there was
Maybe trying to
that.
cover up the bits.
The bits. Yeah, I think there's like actually a couple of costumes that are used because when they play the pre-recorded vignettes, it's like they're in different like turtle costumes. It's so bizarre. But anyway, yeah, for some reason they all have it's like a backwards loincloth basically. Instead of like, covering up the front, it covers up the back for some reason. And so all the turtles are there playing their fake instruments or pretending to play their instruments. And already, I mean, I know this show gets like a lot of heat, and I don't know how much it cost to go to it back then, but you think they could have shelled out the money for like a live band? You know what I'm saying?
They should have done something because I was trying to like this is pretty much I think except when April O'Neil sings
Yeah, she's the
and
only
when
one who actually sings. Yeah.
I think Shredder might do his rap in real time as well.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the only time anything seems live is when April talks or sings, and when Shredder talks or raps. Everything else seems pre-recorded, and they're just kind of going through the motions and the costumes, and yeah, because I'm sure Cam Clark wasn't showing up to each town and
Yeah.
backstage on a microphone, so it has to be recorded. So I mean, it just feels like I don't know, man, like a real, almost like a scam, right?
Oh,
I mean,
I think the term you're looking for is cash grab. But
yeah.
let's
And for me, the most egregious part of this whole thing, and I just want to say it now because I don't want to forget,
mhm.
and I don't know how I would forget to mention this, but is that they didn't even shell out the money to license the theme song from the cartoon.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah,
Like
it's never
that should
played.
have been well, I'll bring it up when we get to the end when they should have
Mhm.
used the song, but we'll get to it.
Sure. So right off the bat, as a Turtle fan and as a music guy, I was already taken aback by who was playing what. And I'll just ask you off the top of your head, who do you think should be playing lead guitar?
Ugh, I mean, I don't know. Does it matter?
Wow. Thanks for playing along, buddy.
Either Michelangelo, maybe, I guess.
No, Leonardo, because he's the leader.
Sure. I
And they,
mean, but does he like need? He doesn't have to play. He could just sing lead vocal. Well, they all sing. Like this thing is all over the place.
right, all right. So in this first song, they each have an instrument. And out of all like the instruments they could have given Leonardo, they gave him the bass. And I just doesn't feel right to me.
Steve, I mean, shouldn't you see this as like a win for bass players?
I mean, I figured it would be Michelangelo or
I don't.
Raphael.
I mean, people like Geddy Lee exist. You know,
I'm
like
aware of that.
Oh, well, I don't know for a bass player. It seems like you're, I don't know, prejudiced against your own people.
But but Raphael did most of the lead singing.
Well, maybe Leonardo, as a good leader, is just letting him take, spreading some of the love. I don't know. We've already spent more time thinking
Thanks
about this
for
than
playing
the
along,
producers
you
did.
son of a bitch. All right, let's move on.
You're right, Steve. They really fucked Leonardo over.
No, it's like it didn't fuck him over. It's just not right. That's all. All right. Anyway.
You're right, Steve. It's morally wrong, ethically. It's
anyway.
How's it not right?
Michelangelo is playing the guitar, Raphael is playing the other guitar, and Donatello is playing the keys. I guess they have a drum machine or whatever. Just use your imagination.
But sometimes they do play the drums. There's in the back, but it's not like a set of drums. It's like the octagons from 80s electronic drums.
Toms,
or it's supposed to look like that, but it's like put up on like a wall that's made out of like fencing material or something. Like, I don't know, man. This set was all over the place.
It was very like it reminded me of Roundhouse, but like without the budget.
Yeah.
And
or creativity.
And did you hear
catchy music?
And did you hear the reason why the turtles sometimes play their instruments and then sometimes they just play by themselves?
No, why?
Donatello made it that way.
What? Like he did? Like he made like a machine?
Yes, he used his technological prowess to create instruments that can sometimes just play themselves.
Okay, sure.
All right. So,
oh my God, that's awful. Man.
Yeah.
Wait, they say that during the show?
It was when I was doing it was explained in the behind the scenes documentary.
Oh my God! So you see, really, to even understand the show, you got to watch the behind the scenes documentary.
Oh yeah, it's like to fully understand the Lord of the Rings trilogy, you got to read the books.
Yeah. And Steve, going back to Michelangelo being the lead guitar or whatever, you have to understand. I think there's something that you're not keeping in mind is when you've got someone of the quality of Shatraw playing your Michelangelo. You put him out front. You want a Shatraw out front.
You got a Shatraw out front in front of everyone.
Exactly. In front of these children.
Okay, so we get a vignette of Splinter talking to the turtles. His mouth barely moves. Yeah, it's like, God, it's like the worst Splinter costume ever.
The audio mix is terrible.
Yeah, and I guess if this whole show has a theme, it's and one of the turtles says you can do more with music than a pair of nunchucks. So I guess that's like their excuse. Like, we're teaching the kids about peace and music. Anyway.
But then later they're like the turtles tell the kids, if somebody asks you to do something you don't want to do, don't do it. Stand up for whatever you want to do. It's like I'm sure parents didn't appreciate that.
No more bedtime. Oh man, yeah. So
that was weird.
Indeed, they launch into their next song, "Pizza Power," performed by all four turtles.
Matt's wedding song, his first dance.
And can you? I know you got to know this one. You want to describe this song to me? What you think it sounds like?
I don't even remember.
You don't? I thought you were a big fan of Turtles in Time.
Wait, are you talking about like Pizza Power?
That song plays at the beginning of the Turtles in Time arcade game.
Does it?
Yeah, maybe just in the arcade, maybe not on like the SNES port, but no, it plays. I remember it quite well. Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe if I heard like that arrangement of it, like
It's the same
I don't know.
goddamn arrangement.
I don't
All
know,
right,
man.
all right.
I just thought this was so awful.
So, all right, to
The
me,
only songs I remember, Steve,
hmm
is like the one where like Donatello sings by himself, the real slow song, and then
hmm
of course the last song that they try to get the kids to sing towards the end. But we'll get to
right,
it.
right, right. So anyway, to me, this song sounds like Saved by the Bell music, only with like a little mix of hair metal. So Master Splinter is then elevated onto the stage. Like there's a lot of like
Ugh,
coming
I
up
remember
through
this
the
too.
stage. It's supposed to be like they're coming up through the sewer, and then
Hmm.
he sings this very sort of
In
low,
quotes, sings.
yeah, this low tempo. I don't know. To me, it sounds like a mix of like Bon Jovi, a little bit of the Police, and Bruce Springsteen, called "Skipping Stones." Like, what did you think about this song, and what do you think they were thinking when they put it in the show?
Oh, it definitely sounded like a ballad. Like it
Mm,
was done in the style of a ballad from the Police, for sure.
mm-hmm.
Obviously not as good.
Of course, none of this is as good as the stuff they were trying to
But
emulate.
it's so weird. It's so weird because like they would intercut images, like some of this looked like stock footage, some of them looked like stuff they shot of like ponds and lakes and like stones.
And I think there was
Uh,
like also shots of in the city with like homeless people or something.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, in black and white. They try to make it like I'm like, what are they
Are they like
trying to say here?
virtue signaling back in 1989 or 1990 when this came out? Like, this is your fault, kids. It's your fault you didn't give your lunch money to this like poor man on the side of the street. Like, it's so bizarre.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's very, very weird.
mhm.
And I'm trying to find the lyrics to it, but unfortunately, somebody else wrote a song called "Skipping Stones," so never mind.
Right, right.
Theirs actually comes up, but
So,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so I'm reading the lyrics here, and like it doesn't say anything at all. Like standing at water that looks like glass, a world of blue is what I see. It's smooth and flat inside my hands. And I wish I could ride as I set it free. I'm standing, skipping stones.
Yeah, this
What?
at this point here is when I was, because before, I mean, they still had like some high energy going. I was like, sure, the kids are probably gonna like Pizza Power and Coming Out of Their Shells, like those songs. But then when this song showed up, I was like, man, these kids must be bored out of their mind with this. Like,
It shows up way too early, I
yeah,
think is the main. I mean, the song's terrible, but like your third song is some slow ass ballad. And the first two songs were pretty short.
right. Yes, they
Because
were.
this is like what, like maybe 10 minutes into it.
Yeah.
Like you've got like this, like, I mean, slow song.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I thought it was weird. This and then the thing is like the singing is very strange also.
Mm-hmm.
He's like skipping
It's
stones.
that Bruce Springsteen style, maybe a little Louis Armstrong mixed in,
Yeah.
and Tom Waits. He sounded like Tom Waits there for a second. You
I
might,
wish he would have sounded like Tom Waits.
yeah, right. So yeah, that was really weird. And then Shredder and Baxter show up along with some foot soldiers, and he freezes the turtles in time. Which, I mean, if he actually had that ability, you think he could just murder them right then and there and be done with it and save us all
Yeah.
like an hour of our time. But no, no. He continues on, sort of monologuing about stuff, saying how he hates music and that he'll take over the planet by sucking all the music out of the earth with his little wackily named device. What do you think of that Shredder costume?
I mean, it's not good, right?
Nope.
None of these costumes are like movie ones. It's cheap. The guy's just wearing like a black unitard, and
Mm-hmm.
then over it they've got like a few shiny pieces of metal and a cape, basically. The helmet looks real weird. I don't know like what it is about it, but like maybe it's too big,
Yeah, it's got
too
that
shiny.
weird sort of samurai symbol on it, which the Shredder like didn't even have like in any of his incarnations. Um, and then it's also open so you can see the guy's face for some reason, or maybe it's so we can hear his voice because obviously he's one of the few people in this production that's not on a pre-recorded track. And then
Yeah,
they
my guess is like I mean he is mic'd. He's
mm,
got like a little headphone mic, and if it was closed, it would probably just not sound good. Maybe
Right.
it'd be like, too much, maybe a little echoey or muffled or something. It wouldn't sound good.
No.
And if his helmet is metal, I mean, it could cause interference if it's like
Oh,
completely
sure. There
closed.
would be echo. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm not saying it should be metal and or closed, but they surely could have come up with something better.
Oh yeah, yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
And then for some reason, he's also got some wacky eyebrows going on. I guess that was like hair and makeup trying to flex their muscle or something. So Splinter falls down. Somehow, let's see. Oh yeah, they and yet okay. So the Splinter and the Turtles they come to, and they realize that something happens, which doesn't really follow time travel logic at all. But whatever, we're gonna throw all logic out of the window here. I mean, after all, Leonardo was the bass player, and that just doesn't make any sense to me.
No.
Anyway, April
Crime.
April shows up. She tries telling the turtles that Shredder is here, and they don't believe her because she's a woman. But
I mean, basically, like the turtles are like they made them look like idiots,
oh
like
yeah,
at every turn.
absolutely. So they're like, yeah, no way, April, you're full of crap. They don't actually say that. So then they play another song, and this one is called "Walk Straight," which is by Raphael. And this one is more of like sort of like a funkier kind of like Motown kind of piece. It reminded me of like an upbeat Boys to Men, maybe with a little bit of Prince. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's a pretty accurate description of the song. It's a little strange that he goes into like this weird in the bridge, this rant against gay people, and how everybody's
I
these
didn't.
kids need to just walk straight. But
Oh man.
maybe they explain it. Maybe they explain it in the making of. I don't know.
Well, the thing that I think is so interesting about this is that it's the coming out of their shells tour, which I thought was a
Hmm.
metaphor for, coming clean and, admitting what your sexual preferences might be. But here they're performing a song called Walk Straight. I'm just confused about the
Well,
message they're
Steve,
trying to send here.
I mean, one of the lyrics in Walk Straight is, "But something happened when we fell down that manhole." I mean, hold on, I'm not done. I'm not done. Then
Okay.
the next lines are, "Don't have to tell you what you already know. You should remember that we all have to grow."
Wow.
Are their penises becoming larger because of the arousal factor, Steve?
That must be
And then
what
the
it
next
is.
line is, "Everybody does it in a different way."
Whoa.
So
Well, see, might as well just go with it. Yeah, don't ask
so
questions.
do it so do it on your own.
Yeah.
That's what the turtles say.
When you use that mysterious voice, it makes it sound very official. Very official.
Honestly, some of these lyrics do like. I mean, I obviously the intent was not for it to be homophobic, but it does kind of read that way. Like if you wanted it to, like, because the chorus is like, "Walk straight, no need to mutate." Like, don't mutate into a homosexual. I guess is what they're trying to say.
Oh shit. Oh yeah.
You know what? Maybe these lyrics. Maybe they did mean this as a homophobic song. Now that I'm reading these lyrics, it's like, got to walk straight, talk straight, be straight. Be straight, see straight, hear straight, think straight. What is happening here?
Well, I think it's clear that these folks were determined to make sure that all of these kids grew up straight, no matter what. So they
Oh
put
my
it.
god! And then at the end, sorry that I can't get off this song. This is another set of lyrics towards the end. "So when they ask you if you're joining in, just keep on walking and never begin." Who is they here, Steve?
You people? Is that
The gays. Like,
the game?
I don't know. I'm wondering about this song.
Oh
I don't know what
man.
they meant.
All right. Okay, so they pretty much immediately jump into the next song, which is Goin' Tubin', sung by Raphael. And the previous one was all, for some reason, Raphael is always usually the one who takes lead with the singing. And this one, if you remember, is like a rockabilly surf song that somehow
Mhm.
combines both genres that I like and does them both wrong. What do you think about Goin' Tubin'?
Yeah, again, you hit it, nailed it right on the head. At least the lyrics are not problematic.
But something problematic happens, or I don't know, maybe it's problem. I'll let you be the judge. So during this song, some at first I thought they were dancing Leatherheads. You know, Leatherhead, the alligator like villain from Teenage Mutant Ninja
Yeah,
Turtles.
yeah.
Now, were they alligators or were they sharks? Like it was really hard to tell. Like depending on what angle I would look at them. Some, all right, basically they were wearing like hula attire, you know, with the dress and like the coconut halves like on their like fake anthropomorphic breasts. But the head, it was hard to tell if it was like an alligator or supposed to be a shark. What say you?
I also don't know what they're supposed to be. And because it's like about water, could be either, I guess.
Yeah, and let's just say, okay, so since they didn't bother to have a a live band. So obviously, this isn't about going and seeing live music. You get to see one or two people sing and or rap live. But the dancing, which I'm not even a fan of dancing, but the dancing is also pretty terrible in this. Did you notice? Like they're not even in time most of the time.
Yeah, the choreography is pretty
Yeah.
bad. The fighting choreography is really
Oh,
bad
really?
too.
They didn't
There's
even
a couple
bother with
segments.
like sound effects until like I think the very end. There was like a couple of sort of sound effects thrown in here and there, but yeah, pretty bad.
Yeah. I don't know if maybe it's because of maybe they couldn't see with the suit, so they couldn't like tell easily like what the other turtle next to them was doing. But I mean, that's why you have rehearsal, baby. You know,
Exactly.
and you do have a song playing. You have a beat that you can dance to. So I don't know. I mean, that Shat Raw guy, he didn't do any other dancing roles. So I just don't think that they hired dancers.
Take it from someone who used to be a theme park mascot, who used to play Shrek and Homer Simpson at Universal Studios. Now, I didn't do any dancing in my suit, but there was a group of characters that all used to get together and do this dancing show, and they were way better than the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles coming out of their shell was. But anyway, moving on. So then they play a game of Jeopardy for some reason. Which, yeah, I mean, if there's one thing that 8-year-olds love, it's Jeopardy.
Yeah.
And they say, "What's a turtle's favorite word?" And I think it's Raphael or someone, maybe it's Mikey. He's like, "Oh man, I don't know. It's cowabunga." Then April interrupts once again and says that Shredder is in the theater, but then she's cut off when they jump into cowabunga. The next song, which I described as a early 90s rap, very Run DMC. Compared to the other stuff that came before, it's not terrible, but incredibly cheesy. I don't know. What say you?
I mean, it's not as bad, but I mean, it's definitely terrible. I gotta disagree with
Oh,
you,
no, it is
but yeah,
terrible.
it's like Run DMC ish, for sure. It's that style rapping, and yeah, pretty bad. Is this the one where at some point he says something like, "And if you can't think of a rhyme, then just," and he says something that doesn't rhyme, like,
Just ended in time, something like that. Yeah, yeah. That's.
yeah,
I
yeah.
think that's this one. And then I've got another sort of quote from that one. It says, "Not bad for a sewer boy who grew up under the street." So awful. So Shredder and
uh,
back. What's
Oh
up?
wait. I did want to point out that towards the end, like he has a line that screams the opposite of what his lyrics say. He raps. He wrote the song, the music. I wrote the words. We wrote everything that you've heard. Like I don't know. Like
Okay, buddy.
it's just weird. Like okay, sure. You guys wrote this. Okay.
So Shredder and Baxter interrupt again. Shredder says in a moment his machine will become operational, suck out all the music. Mike does some bad impressions, including a Bart Simpson impression, which I mean, I guess I appreciated. Whatever.
Did you?
Not really. I don't know. I mean, I was like, hey, something I know. If I would have been an
Like,
8-year-old, I would have been thrilled. I'm sure.
yeah, that reference at least made sense, but they make some other references that like they make one a reference to Excedrin, the pain medication Excedrin.
There's I think it's like a credit card reference at one point. I've got it
Yeah,
written
American
in.
Express, they say never leave home without it or
That's
something.
it. Yep. And then at one point, Shredder, I think, mentions him a few times. he's like vehemently against Barry Manilow. I remember that was sort of like a
Yes.
running joke back in the 90s. I think like the Animaniacs and the Tiny Toons used to rag. Everyone used to rag on Barry Manilow for some reason. And yeah, Shredder got in on the fun, I suppose. So the Foot Clan show up and they have a poorly choreographed fight. April shows up and her costume is terrible. She gets kidnapped by the Foot Clan. Shredder shows up on a platform, sort of hovering above the stage, which is pretty decent. Kind of reminded me of, the video game or something. I mean, it's just a decent place to put Shredder, I would say. Um, let's see. I was going to ask you how you would improve the Shredder costume, but we already talked about that. So the turtles start feeling sick, and then they are all lowered under the stage, and then Shredder monologues to the audience. And I actually really appreciated.
Oh,
What's up?
well, so is this the point where the turtles actually they start to be affected by the
Yes.
music sucking? I hate for our listeners to miss out on this important plot point. So the turtles start to be affected by the music removing machine that Shredder has. And what do, Steve? What do our heroes do?
They run
They
away.
flee.
Yes,
They
of
flee.
course.
They leave the kids there. They tell the kids, "Oops, sorry, we have to leave. Good luck. We'll try to come back."
Do you
Uh,
remember in Batman: The Dark Knight when I think it's like the Joker shows up at like this rich like gala or something, and Bruce Wayne is there, and they throw Bruce Wayne's girlfriend like out of a window, and he like runs down and like grabs her, and then they just hard cut to a different scene, so you never find out if like the Joker like murdered all the rich people or not. Do you remember that?
no, I
Well, that's
don't.
what this reminds me of. It's like Batman ran away to save his girlfriend, and then we never found out if the Joker
Yeah.
murdered. Anyway,
Except this is even worse because this would be like if Batman ran out to save himself
right,
and
right,
left everyone else to die.
and the Joker murdered a bunch of kids.
Yeah.
So Shredder monologues to the audience, and I could see right where it says on Shredder's script, improv with the audience, and that's exactly what he does. He calls them a bunch of snotty-nosed brats, which I really appreciated, which you'd never be able to get away with that now. And he says they are too weak to be slaves to the Foot Clan.
hmm
April is then brought before Shredder.
But no, he says that they're too weak to be foot soldiers. They're too weak to be in the Foot Clan, but that they can be slaves for the Foot Clan.
Right. Thank you for clarifying that. So April is brought before Shredder. She says the turtles will be back. Then is brought away, and then we see a newsman in the audience. Now, if they wanted to stick to like turtle canon, I was like, is this Vern, like from the cartoon?
Mm.
No, his name is like Kip or something, and he's like asking the kids what they should do, which again, good like audience interaction, I guess. And so hard
I mean,
cut.
the kids are into it.
100%.
But did you notice that, like, and I don't know if this is because of maybe they didn't mic the audience well or what, but sometimes, like, you don't hear these kids at all. You don't hear, it's like a pin drop. And
Yeah.
other times, the kids are like yelling and screaming, more so if they're directly asked something.
Right.
I do find it funny though that like when Shredder starts like making fun of the kids and like basically he's like a goes into 1980s heel pro wrestler
Oh yeah.
cutting a promo on the kids. And I mean it's real hit or miss. Some of it's pretty lame.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, the first couple minutes it goes on way too long.
Oh,
This
yes, it
feels like he
does.
goes on like 7 minutes.
And we're not even.
Uh,
He gets basically two sections to like mess with the audience. And yeah, the one you're talking about that takes forever is like coming up. We haven't even gotten to
oh,
it
I'm
yet.
sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's
Well, I'm
okay.
already talking about it, so let me just say
Sure.
this
Go
about it.
ahead.
So while he's doing this, and he gets like more confident as it goes on, as he starts to get a rise out of the kids, like the actor starts to like get better about it. But I thought it was funny they would cut to the audience, after he like Ben, what's your name, Ben, or he asks some kid his name, and the kid says Ben. He's like, ha, Big Ben. Is that an insult?
Yeah, right.
But the parents were like cracking up
They
at their kids being made fun of, which I thought was pretty funny.
Yeah, that was like the one time they actually did something for the parents. And that's where I feel like, I mean, it's one of the many shortcomings of this show, but we'll get to that in the end. So now the reporter, Kip, or whatever his name is now in the basement looking for the turtles. God, there's an eternity of bad improv here. He like
Mm.
pretends to be scared. He points at like a cable and says it's a snake or something.
He says that there's no lights, that he can't find a light switch. But if you look at the top of the screen, you see that there's lights at the top that are
Mm-hmm.
on.
Yeah, I mean, and he's really just filling for time here, vamping, if you will. Then he finds the turtles. They say they can't stand in front of the deharmonic convergence machine because it makes them weak. And then basically we get a long wide shot. Now, it's supposed to be all done from like the camera of the cameraman that's with Kip. But like, it's clear they just put it on a tripod because there's never any kind of like handheld shake or anything.
Right.
So it makes for a very boring scene as like Kip tries to like be like, oh turtles, what are we doing here? And then
Basically, it's just like Kip telling the turtles, "You got to do something. You're the only one that can save us." And the turtles going, but what are we supposed to do? We can't do anything for like 4 minutes, and until finally, I don't know. I don't even remember what the deal was. Like, we'll take your camera, Kip, and we'll communicate that way. And they tell Kip to go find Shredder.
yeah, it doesn't make any sense. For some reason, Raph re-explains the feud between Splinter and Shredder from like, all their years back in Japan, like for no reason, like no one asked for that. And then the reporter calls the turtles weenies. And as Yahel said, Don grabs the camera and he like puts it on the ground, exposing the fact that the turtles are wearing shoes, which they never wear shoes. Like, why even bother showing that?
I don't know.
So
Out
now,
of their shells and into their Crocs, I guess.
right. If only Crocs were around back then. So Shredder and Baxter and the Foot drag April on stage and tie her up. Shredder tells the kids to shut up. This is the 80s heel promo that Yahel was talking about. And yeah, I really enjoyed this part too. Shredder.
I like that. He did say one thing that like cracked me up just because it was so dumb and it made like no sense. He asked some kid that looks like he's like 6 or 8, who's that sitting next to you? Is that like is that your friend? And he goes, oh, it's my cousin. And he goes, your cousin? You couldn't get a date?
Yeah. Yes, I did enjoy that. But the problem is that it was just taking too long. I don't know if they were like
Yeah,
waiting.
this goes on forever.
I think they were waiting for like the actors to have like a break or something.
Right.
So then Shredder shows how his machine works and starts dumping records into it, and then it shoots out confetti on the audience, which is kind of fun. But all the while, Shredder's supposed to be like cracking jokes about. I remember he's like, "What do you think about New Kids on the Block?" And like all the kids sort of squeal, and he shreds it and shoots it out as confetti to them. Then he dances around shouting, "I hate music," and it's sort of a rap, but sort of not. And then I don't know. For some reason, I put Shredder. Oh yeah, and then they show Kip the reporter on a screen, and there's like some weird flashing and turning black and white, and I was like, did Shredder kill Kip the reporter?
It seems like he electrocuted him, right?
Yeah, something like that. But anyway, Kip's done. So then we see Splinter and the Turtles tell April they'll get her back via video vignette. And it's weird. And as I said, like the costumes that they use in the vignettes are like not the same as the ones they wear on stage. Like, did you notice that like one of them has like a weird like star thing in their eye or something like that? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. They have like almost like Kiss.
Yeah. But then when they get out on stage,
But
that's not there. So it's basically a
right.
continuity error. And
This whole show was an error.
yeah, you got that right. So they tie up the gay lab workers, and those guys call the kids weenies. And April asks the kids if they are scared. Then she begins to sing. This is called, aptly enough, the April Ballad. And to me, it feels like, I don't know, Pat Benatar or something like that. Do you have any thoughts on the April Ballad?
It was pretty boring.
Mm-hmm.
This lady can sing,
She can. She
um,
can.
but ugh, just terrible. It's slow. It's boring. It's plotting.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't wait for it to end, but like each one of these songs, it overstays its welcome.
If I had been an 8-year-old, I would have been bored out of my mind for this part. I mean, even as an adult, I was like, oh, good, someone's actually singing. Now, can we move it along?
Yeah,
Um,
if I had seen, I mean, I was a pretty cynical child, but I would have definitely not been into this as a kid.
right,
I
right.
would have been like pissed that it's like so weird and awkward and doesn't follow, the at least the movies
Hmm.
in terms of look and style.
I'd be like, why aren't they fighting? That would be my
Right.
first question.
Why are they not doing the song from the cartoon? Would have
Right,
also been a
for
complaint.
sure. So I guess the turtles show up and then they leave again, and then Shredder threatens April and says that he hates Barry Manilow, and then removes her voice with his machine. Thank you, Shredder. I mean, I think he was doing what we were all thinking. I think.
Yeah, yeah. What a hero.
So a video shows news clips of reporters talking about how all the music in the world is gone. Turtles and Splinter come back again. Then they do the American Express reference, which man, kids gotta love that. They love credit card jokes, is what I'm hearing these
Mm,
days.
yeah.
So April tries to talk to the turtles, but she can't, so they have to play charades. Ugh, it's like just eye rolling. Now the turtles have like weird crossing guard style X's on. Since they came back, like their costumes changed a little bit, but not enough to make it any kind of like drastic difference. Like, what do you think of those cross guard style X's?
I was so confused by these outfits. Like, first of all, like, why are they changing outfits like during this dire situation? And
Mm-hmm.
we haven't mentioned that occasionally they'll cut to like this meter
Uh-huh.
that says bad, very bad, and what's the last one? Do you remember? Totally uncool or
Yeah,
something like
that's it.
that.
That's it. Yep.
So if it goes from, like bad is the least bad,
Mm-hmm.
ironically, and then totally uncool is the worst. So like depending, I guess, on like how much peril
See,
the turtles and the audience is in, the
yeah,
meter moves.
yeah, I was really confused about that. It's like, are they judging like the music or? I mean, yeah, it was
No, it's the
really,
situation because
yeah.
like when the more Shredder like takes over the more he has the upper hand, the more the needle moves to like the worst part
But
of the meter. But there's no like good on the meter, right?
right,
Or so it's like the turtles can only get the situation to be bad.
right. So,
Like
and what is the point of that? Like, who came up
I
with
don't
that?
know.
Is
So
it supposed to
weird.
make the kids feel like they're in more danger, or as you said,
I don't think the
peril?
kids could see it. I think it was
Yeah.
just something that they cut in for the home audience. Just like when they cut in like the Kip
Hmm.
reporter getting electrocuted, he's not on a big video screen that the kids can see.
Well,
We see it at home because it's
right.
superimposed.
But I mean, they had monitors on the side of the stage, so I'm sure the kids could probably see them
Yeah.
there.
Oh, really? I mean, I know that they could hear it, and
Mhm.
I think that would have been fine. But I don't know, just weird production choices overall.
Indeed. So Splinter says that the problem is inside because they've lost faith in the music. So this, the turtles start singing again. This time it's no treaties, kind of a Motley Crue sort of Def Leppard hair metal style. Raph fakes a pretty good guitar solo. Any comments about this song?
No, no. Did we already go past the part of Shredder rapping?
Well, yeah, that's when he starts saying he doesn't really rap so much as he says like the same thing over and over again, which is hold on, I have it
No,
written
he
down.
he has like a rap song like with like a beat and everything.
Yeah,
Or is that later?
that's it. Yeah, for some reason it's not even like because I had like a list of all the songs, and for some reason they don't even count that as part of like the set list, basically.
Yeah,
For
well,
some reason,
rap's not really music, so
you
that's
got that right, buddy. You got that right, buddy. So hold on. All right. I lost my. Okay, so there's the April battle. All right, so yeah, no treaties. There's a fake guitar solo. I don't know. Yeah, so again, just more generic. I guess sort of like this is early 90s, so stuff like that was still kind of popular. So you can see what they're doing here. They're trying to just play to the trends. I feel sorry for anyone who's doing that these days. So the machine doesn't die, and the turtles argue like big time. Then Raph starts singing again. They start singing "Follow Your Heart" like over and over again, like a million times, and it kind of sounds like a sort of "Don't Stop Believin'" kind of ripoff. Like, what do you think of that?
Yeah, yeah, definitely Journey.
Then
Is the vibe I got.
Indeed, yeah, Kmart Journey. The turtles encourage all the kids to sing in order to fight the Shredder's machine. Shredder comes back and says he's going to make an example out of the crowd. Then there's another video of the turtles, and they don't look like the turtles at all on stage. They come back. All the crowd is singing. The turtles and the Foot Clan fight. Then Shredder is defeated. He tries to escape through a box. Like, oh, and this was like they couldn't even be bothered to make like the escape pod for the Technodrome or anything. It's like it was like a white box, and it was like, hey, we're just gonna fill the Technodrome parts in later. But then no one ever did.
Right. Yeah. Real cheap looking, real terrible.
And he goes in there, and Shredder gets canceled, and they wheel his box away. Like, I think there might have been like a little bit of like fake fog or something, but how anticlimactic is that? They just beat the bad guy, and they just wheel him off stage. Like, that's so cheap.
I don't, in hindsight, they should not have had the turtles or Shredder come up from under the stage. Excuse me, the turtles or Splinter come up from under the stage. Instead, use that to like send Shredder down like one of those like tubes under the stage, through the stage, and have some like fog come out of that or something,
Sure. Or just like a, big sort of staged explosion, and then Shredder just escapes. You don't even see him. He just walks, stage left or stage right.
Right. Yeah. Anything would have been better, pretty much.
You got that right. So, April plays charades again with the turtles, but she's just joking. Her voice is back. So now they can all sing "You Can Count on Us," which sounds even more like Def Leppard than the other stuff. Very sort of hair metally sounding. Then the turtles sink back into the stage, and that is basically the end of Coming Out of Their Shells tour. Any thoughts on the great climax there?
It's terrible. One thing we didn't mention is that leading into the climax, one of the turtles, I can't remember which one, but he tells the audience, he tells the kids that like they need their help, and that the kids are gonna attack Shredder by singing, and he tells them to sing, "You gotta fight to be free, you gotta fight for what's right," or something like that.
Over and over again.
But he just keeps singing it over and over again. It's a terrible melody. I don't remember exactly how it went, but it was really bad.
Fight to be free.
Yeah, exactly, something like that. You gotta fight for what's right.
Yeah,
something
that's
stupid
it.
like that. All right, so the thing is, like, it's not exactly like the easiest thing for like a 6-year-old to like, there's no music playing. There's all a cappella at this point. So it was just weird that he didn't just like say like, hey, when I sing, you gotta fight. You sing, you gotta be fair, or something like that. Like it's so strange that they would spend like a minute and a half with him trying to get these kids to sing it. They never fucking sing it. They never get it together. There's a couple kids you'll hear like here and there trying to do it, but it never comes together.
Right.
But what would have been good here is if they had bothered to get the rights to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cartoon theme song, tell them, hey, when this song starts, you sing it, because every kid would have known the lyrics to the cartoon theme song.
Right. Okay. So even if you can't get the the rights to that, all you have to do is say "Turtle Power." Come on, kids.
Yeah.
Turtle Power. Like, that's so easy.
That's why I'm like, I feel like these people have never been around a child or something.
They haven't. They were overthinking it, basically. So let's run the bumper and turn this puppy out.
Remember, rated. That is the question.
All right. Agent Velasquez. Should the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles coming out of their shells VHS tape be tossed in the black void of obscurity, never to be heard from again, or remembered for all of human history?
Well, Steve, this may come as a shock, but no. I think this should be obliterated. I will never be able to say enough bad things about it. I have decided this is quite a bit worse than Surf Nazis Must Die. Um,
Yay?
this is this is the worst thing I have ever watched on this podcast.
Wow.
I'm glad we're pre-recording this because I'm going to need more than a week to recover.
So wait. You're saying this is worse than the Turtles Christmas video, even?
Oh, this is way worse than that.
Okay.
You don't think so?
I mean, they're really neck and neck. So are you finished with your review?
Yeah, but wasn't the Turtles and Christmas one also like shorter? Wasn't that one like 45 minutes?
It was shorter, so
Okay,
that puts
just
it
on
ahead.
account of it being half as long, it's already better.
That's true. That's very true. Now, I pretty much agree with everything that you've said, but I will say, like, all right, so I see this has already been covered a million times online by lesser podcasts and YouTube shows than ours. Am I right? But not lesser. But anyway, and I will say, like, this really just struck me as like a show that should have been like at a theme park or something, like not brought on tour. At least in the way that it's like written and constructed. I mean, it's obviously for kids, but they didn't do anything decent for adults. Like I guess they kind of tried, but in the end, it just fell flat. And I guess even if you like hold it up in terms of like other sort of like theme park shows, it's still pretty weak. So yeah, it's pretty bad. It's pretty low on the list for me as well. So for all those reasons, it deserves to be obliterated.
The heathens have spoken. You are obliterated.
All right. Well, Matt,
So,
I hope you're
Steve,
happy.
I don't know if you know, but I did read like an interview or an article where they have some quotes from Behan or whatever his name is,
Sure.
Bijan, about this. And it's funny that you mentioned that, this has nothing for the adults. This is a quote from him. A lot of our friends were having kids and talking about how miserable it was to go to Sesame Street on ice. No disrespect to Sesame Street, you know what I mean? But it's not exactly super compelling for the adults that are chaperoning the kids. So he thinks this was super compelling, and apparently, like what they did was like Bihan and his partner, they cold called Eastman and Laird, and just say, "Hey, can we pitch this to you?" And I mean, now this is according to Behan, but he says that. But I mean, it seems to be true because they did the musical. But
Right.
basically, they had written a few of these shitty songs, played it for them, and they said, "Wow, this is great. Let's do it."
They probably
And
were like, how much money can we make? And then they showed them how much, and they're like, wow, this is great. Let's do it.
well, this show takes place at Radio City Music Hall, and this was the first time they like did it in front of an audience. So maybe it
see.
gets better later on. I doubt it. But they were charged $50,000 for the licensing rights. And yeah, they had to get funding from somebody else. And yeah, that is how this kind of came to be.
Wow. Well, that's I mean well, they paid 50, but the sad thing is that I'm sure they made that money back in spades. Cuz like you know that this thing probably sold out like nationwide cuz I mean
Yeah.
the kids, they're just going to be happy to see a Ninja Turtle in real life. But sadly, the adults are just going to probably be bored out of their minds, or at least just be happy that their kid is happy. Do you think maybe they were like, oh, we'll have the Ninja Turtles for the kids, but the songs will be for the adults?
I don't know, man. But another thing I should point out that he said was that before like these people got involved, like these other companies got involved and like started throwing, because they threw like a $20 million marketing campaign behind this apparently. And they gave them like 9 million to record the album, which is insane. They recorded with like people, producers that worked on like Don't You Forget About Me and a bunch of other stuff. But the weird thing is like their initial idea supposedly was that they were gonna make it like if the Turtles were a garage band. And because their whole thing was like, oh, grunge was just starting to become like a thing, so they wanted it to be like that.
Well,
So
you can see in the behind the scenes like that they were definitely treating them like that, but it doesn't make sense within the confines of the story of the show. Like,
right. Anyways, this is
all right.
just
Have you had
terrible.
enough? You got some more facts there? Shall we wrap it up?
Well, like the Turtles were on Oprah.
I did not know that.
They were. Oh, I'm surprised they didn't tell you the times when you met them. But yeah, and not just like the Turtles were on Oprah, like these Turtles for this show
Oh, I could see
went
it.
on Oprah to promote it, and apparently, like they were the only guest the whole show,
Wow. And
an hour.
and these turtles, they had other interviews, and everyone was told to talk to them as if they were real.
Yeah, yep, real weird.
Yeah, for sure. All right, man. Yeah, I think we've done the world a service here, even though it took away, like 2 hours of our life. Anything else to add before we sign off here?
No. If you want to know more about this, there's an article on GameSpot. If you search GameSpot and how the Ninja Turtles became a rock band, the article will come up, and it's got more tidbits of information that I just don't want to talk about because I just want to get this out of my life.
Well, all right. I have one last question for you. Do you ever think the Ninja Turtle brand will ever die?
No. I mean, I know quite a few people my age that are excited about the new movie because I haven't even seen a trailer for it, but they said that it seems like it'll kind of be the vibe of the show, the cartoon.
I don't know about that.
I don't know. I haven't seen a trailer or anything for it, so I didn't know there was a movie coming out until you told me.
It's they're ripping off sort of that Into the Spider-Verse animation style, kind of. But I don't know. I mean, I haven't seen enough to cast a verdict one way or the other. But if either of us,
there's a start.
What's up?
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say if either of us sees it, we can discuss it briefly or something in the future.
I'm not gonna see it, but you have a kid, so maybe you'll see it.
Possible.
I will say this though. Next week, the episode of Star Trek: Strange New Worlds next week is a musical. It's the first time they've done a musical episode, and I am definitely going to be more appreciative of it now, having seen this disaster. I'm sure.
All right. Well, I guess that's it then. Did we make the right choice? Why don't you tell us what you think about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles coming out of their shells? Did you like it? Do you hate it? Let us know in the comments. And we will be back next Sunday discussing more obscure media. And also, all of the copies of the Escape to Earth #2 Kickstarter campaign have been mailed out. So if anyone would like a copy of that, just let us know, and or let me know, and we'll make it happen. Otherwise, we will see you next Sunday as we continue to unearth more obscure media, only on Obscurity Now. See you next time.
You've been enjoying Obscurity Now, a podcast that's recorded live to tape and streamed to Twitch and YouTube. Subscribe so you never miss an episode or hilarious quip. Take us with you by following the download links provided in the show notes to wherever you get podcasts. And take notice of our various social media links. If that's what you're into, I'm not here to judge. And make sure you join us live next week at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific as we continue to discuss more obscure media only on Obscurity Now.